In this walkthrough, I am going to work through the online tutorial, create calculated columns in Power BI desktop, and detailed instructions can be found at this website. To follow along with this tutorial, you need to download this fictitious dataset. If you click on this, then an automatic download will start. After completing the download, you will have this Power BI starter file with the data embedded inside the Power BI file. In the data pane, after opening up the Power BI starter file, we see all the tables we have at our disposal, and for a start I'm going to focus on the product category and the products subcategory. Let's quickly hop over to the model view to see the relationships that exist between the tables. So here we have product category, and a one-to-many relationship exists between product category and product subcategory. One product category, it can relate to many different product subcategories. Let's look at an example of what I'm trying to say. So I'm now in the table view in Power BI, and I selected the product category table, and here we see categories 1 to 8 ranging from audio to home appliances. So product category 1, it represents audio, but on the other hand, if I hop over to the product subcategory table, you see we have two columns, two key columns, the one for product subcategory key and another one for product category key. If I filter on one, which is audio, then you will see there are many different subcategories relating to audio, such as audio accessories, speakers, Bluetooth headphones, etc., recorder, and so on and so forth. Each product subcategory has a unique key, 1 to 8. So to summarize, one product category, it can relate to many different product subcategories, and that is what the relationship here is trying to tell you. It's one to many, and if I hover on the connector between the tables, it highlights the fields that are linked between the two tables in the relationship. Now let's say that I want the category and the subcategory information in a single column. So for example, for the speakers row, I want audio-speakers. I can achieve that by adding a new column to my product subcategory table. How can I achieve this new column? Simple. I can right-click on the product subcategory table and go to new column, or I can click on product subcategory And in the Table Tools ribbon, click on New Column. Since I'm here, I'm just going to click on New Column. The name of my column should be something descriptive. So I'm going to type in product full category equals. So basically, I want to put two column values together, the product category and the product subcategory. Let me type in product category, and you will notice that the product category table, it doesn't reflect in the auto complete suggestions over here. Why is that? It's because I am currently in the product subcategory table, and that icon I'm hovering over, that is an indication that I'm about to create a new column. So I'm in the subcategory table and I want to fetch information from the product category table. Now this is important. In DAX doesn't automatically travel between the related tables to fetch the information for you. So to get the information from the product category, I must type in related and then specify product category, and we can confirm that we are indeed on the right path, because the product category table, it is being suggested in the auto completion hints as I type product category. Okay, so I want to fetch product category, and I want to have a little dash between my columns, and now I'm going to specify the product subcategory. Notice how the process of specifying the formula, it was expedited with the auto completion features. The formula seems correct. There aren't any red underlined parts to indicate that an error is present, so I can either hit enter on the keyboard or I can click on commit, the green tick button here on the left. So I'm going to click commit, and in the data pane beneath the product subcategory table, we see a new field, the product full category, and it has this symbol to the left of it. Let's hop over to the table view and see what is going on. This product full category, it wasn't initially present in the product subcategory table. We see now that for every row in the product subcategory, we have the category and subcategory specifications separated by a dash. So for example, for recorder, we have audio space dash space recorder, and a value was basically computed or calculated for every row in the subcategory table. So let me just remove the filter over here and select all again. Click OK. And here you see the pattern repeating for all the categories. So for example, we have many TV and video entries which end with the subcategory specification. To recap, how did I achieve this product full category column? I created a new column and I specified this DAX formula at the very top for that new column. This ampersand symbol that I'm busy highlighting, that's what you tell DAX if you want to glue text contents with each other. So here in the subcategory table, I'm stitching the category and the subcategory together with a dash in the middle. With the new column that we calculated, we can now, as an example, visualize the total sales amount by the product full category. Let's, for starters, keep it simple. I'm going to select the table visual. Here is a placeholder for the table visual. I want a product full category column, so let me drag and drop that into columns, and it was successful. In the product full category column, you have all the different entries. But I also want to see the sales amount by the full category. So I'm going to drag and drop sales amount into the columns field, and here we see the sales amount. As a sanity check, let's just look what aggregation took place behind the scenes. So the default aggregation is a sum. What does that mean? It means that for all entries in the sales table that correspond with, for example, audio recording pen, all the sales entries corresponding to recording pen, their sales amounts were added together to get this value over here, which I'm currently highlighting. An important distinction to make at this point is that a calculated column, that is something that is fixed. It is static. It doesn't change or update based on your interactions with the visual. This sales amount, it was calculated on the fly, depending on the context in which it is evaluated. So to prove my point, if I remove the product full category and move product category into columns, then we have aggregated our sales amount to a higher degree. This sales amount, it was updated accordingly to the context in which it is being examined, in this case the product category. But if we go back to the product full category, then we have a more granular aggregation taking place for the sales amount. I want us to look at another example of a calculated column. In the data pane, we see that we also have another table named stores, and these are all the columns associated with the stores table. Now, in this data set, we can differentiate between two different types of stores. Those who are active, they are still functioning and selling products, and other stores which are inactive, the stores that had to close because of poor sales or whatever. And the active or inactive status, it's indicated by the status column. So if I click on this down arrow here at the top, there are two different values for status, off and on. If the status value is off, it means that the store is currently inactive, but if the status is on, then the store is active. Here is an example of a store name that is currently inactive. The status is off and the name is Contoso North Bend Store. But I want to make a visual where any data associated with my inactive stores, they are all lumped together in the category of inactive. Currently, that is a bit difficult to achieve because for the inactive stores, we still have a full description of the store name. So I'm going to create a new column with the if statement. And if you look at the online documentation, you will have a detailed explanation of how to use the if statement. Let's quickly have a look at this. Here is an example of using the if statement in DAX. And in the angle brackets, you have the different parameters that the if function can accept. A logical test, a value if true, and a value if false. Here we have a description for each parameter. The logical test, this is any value or expression that can be evaluated to true or false. If the test is true, then value if true, that specifies the value that is returned if the logical test is true. On the other hand, value if false, that's the value that's returned if the logical test is false. In the online documentation, you will also find examples of how to use a formula in DAX. So, from my experience, it is best or most efficient to learn from examples. So let's look at this example over here. We're calculating a new column price group, and we want to differentiate between two different groups, low and high. If the price of the product is less than 500, then we want the price group to reflect low for that specific product. On the other hand, if the price is not less than 500, basically if the price is greater than or equal to 500, then the price group must be high. Let me summarize. If this condition is true, then the new column must have a value of low. If the condition is false, we want the column value to be high. Let us take what we've learned from the online documentation and apply it to the example we are working with. So, in the data pane, in the table view, I'm going to right-click on stores and go to new column. Alternatively, I can also go to the report view, right-click on stores and select new column. Even in the model view, if I right-click on stores, I can also from there select new column. And usually you will also see in the ribbon at the top we have an option to click on new column beneath the table tools ribbon. So I'm going to click on new column, and the formula window is displayed. So let me provide that formula that we're going to use. Right, so here's the formula using the if statement. If the status value is on, then keep the store name as it is. But if the status value is not on, then we want a store name of inactive. Okay? The formula looks good. There aren't any syntax errors, so I'm going to press enter on my keyboard. And here we have a new column, active store name. Here we see for the cases in which the status is on, the store name remains unchanged. But let me filter to entries that are off. I'm going to just filter there. If the status is off, then in this new column we have an entry of inactive. Do you see that? Let me just quickly summarize the DAX formula. If the status is on, keep the store name as it is. But on the other hand, if the status is off, then just default the store name to inactive. Finally, let's do something based on the newly created column. I'm in the report view of Power BI. Here's my blank canvas. And I want to visualize the total sales amount by the newly created store name. So let's start with a simple table. In my visualizations pane, I click on table. here is the placeholder for my table visualization. I'm going to drag and drop active store name here beneath stores. Going to drag and drop that into columns. Here we see the active store name, the column we just created. Where is inactive, you may ask? It is at the bottom, right over there. Just to make this more transparent, I'm going to change the sorting order in this column. There we go, the sorting order has been flipped around. So here at the top we have inactive, and below we have all the other different store names. Let's visualize sales amount again. I'm going to drag and drop sales amount into columns. Let me just create a little bit of breathing space between the columns. What aggregation took place? Let's check. I go to the visualizations pane, go to columns, click on the down arrow, and I see a sum aggregation took place. This aggregation, it can be changed. So look what happens in the table if I select maximum. And the column name says max of the sales amount. So for the York store, the maximum sales amount captured was this $35,000 as shown here. But I want to switch back to sum. Let me just click on that. And here we have the sum of the sales amount again. Now, with the help of our calculated column, we can lump all the sales together that correspond to inactive stores. Without that newly created column, we would still see the original store name. For example, Contoso Alexandria store, which is inactive. So without this active store name, the best we could do was to aggregate sales amount by the status of the store. Let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to remove that column over there. I'm going to go to status here in the data pane, drag and drop that to columns. And here our sales amount is aggregated according to the status column. Yes, we can see that for the inactive stores we still have this same value, but we don't have any granular detail for the active stores. So with the help of the newly created column, which is active store name, I can see more detail for my different active stores, and at the same time I am lumping all my data together for the inactive stores. Here's a quick recap of this walkthrough, and I'm going to demonstrate it from the table view. So in product subcategory table, I created a new column, product full category. How did I create that column? With the help of a DAX formula. I first specified the product category and I glued that information together with the product subcategory. I had to use the related function because I am situated in my subcategory table, but I want to access the product category via this relationship that exists between the two tables. These two tables are, guess what? They are related by this one-to-many relationship, and so I use the related keyword over there to signal Power BI, listen, I want you to fetch this category value from the related product category table. And I use this ampersand to glue text values next to each other. So in the middle I specified a dash surrounded with a space, and next to the dash I want the product subcategory. Then I also had a look at another example of creating a new column, and I did that from within the stores table. I clicked on the stores table and then I went to new column and I specified this DAX formula for the active store name column. I used an if keyword so that I can have different values depending whether this condition is a success or not, whether the condition is true or false. For the stores in which the status is on, I keep the store name as is. On the other hand, for stores in which the status is off, I just default to a value of inactive. Because of this newly created column, the active store name, I could go to the report view and get detailed information for my active stores, and at the same time just lump all my data together for the inactive stores. Here we see what we could achieve with our newly created column. All the data corresponding to the inactive stores, they are lumped together in this single row, whereas I have a more detailed view for the other stores which are active.